Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching. My name is Trevor, and I am a library development specialist at the North Dakota State Library. And I also served as the chair of the Standards Revision Task Force. Today, I'm going to be talking about the new standards for public libraries. Now, before I dive in, I'm going to pause for a moment for anyone who feels compelled to do a mental or physical happy dance because of the new standards. Okay, moving along. I wanted to talk briefly about the importance of standards, or why North Dakota has standards to begin with. The two quotes on the screen were pulled directly from the introduction of the standards document, and I thought they summarized things pretty well. The first one says, the Coordinating Council and the State Library recognize the need for the development and regular review of library standards. Such standards provide assurance to a continuing effort to provide quality and meaningful library services to the citizens of North Dakota. This document represents an effort to establish a baseline of standards for public libraries. And the second one says, the standards set forth in the following document are the primary qualifications for any North Dakota public library to be eligible to participate in the Coordinating Council's grant program. And this is also known as Library Vision. So here is a little overview on the history of the old standards. So the Coordinating Council created a task force in June of 2011 with the goal of creating public library standards. And this group began its work in 2012. In June 2013, the Coordinating Council adopted the standards that came out of that task force. And in May 2014, the standards were further revised and then adopted. And then the standards for public libraries were officially implemented on July 1, 2017. So why the change, or why the update? As I'm sure many libraries in the state know, many of the standards were not working. And many of the standards were unachievable and others were outdated. So on the screen here, you can see the last couple of years, and there is the correlating number of libraries that were compliant with the standards. So in 2016, a year before the standards started, a test run was done by the Library Development Department, and it was discovered that only 3 libraries were compliant. After a big compliance push after that, the number rose to 28 in 2017, and in 2018, that number actually fell down to 23. We did not run the numbers for 2019, but projections were that the number was going to drop yet again. Talk of revising the standards dates back to around the time they officially started in 2017, but the Coordinating Council formally began the process in 2018. Because of the reasons I mentioned on the previous slide, the Coordinating Council wanted to fast-track new standards. So they turned to library developments to begin the groundwork. Library developments, myself included, closely examined the standards to determine what had been working and what had not been working. And we also researched public library standards in other states. The Coordinating Council created a standards revision task force in late 2018. The task force consisted of 3 people from library development and 7 public library directors from libraries of various sizes. The task force met multiple times in 2018 and reviewed a rough draft that library development had put together. Changes were then made and the document was submitted to the Coordinating Council. In early 2019, the Coordinating Council reviewed the draft and made a few changes of their own. And then in the spring of 2019, the draft was submitted to the public library community for review. We received some great feedback on this, and further changes were made after that. In May 2019, the Coordinating Council approved the final version, and the new standards for public libraries were officially implemented on July 1, 2019. The new standards were created with the goal of being attainable and aspirational for all public libraries, And the task force and the coordinating council believes it has achieved this goal. So some of the major changes include the removal of the 5 service population tiers and the removal of the formula or percentage or per capita standards. The new format follows a structure that is very common across the country. There are now 3 levels, and they are developing, excelling, and future focused. In each of these levels, they gradually increase in expectations. Developing is the core level of the new standards. The standards at this level are written with the idea that all libraries should be able to meet them regardless of funding or size. To be developing, you must meet all of the standards at this level. To reach the excelling level, libraries must meet all of the standards at developing and excelling. And to reach future focused, libraries must meet all of the standards at all 3 levels. This is a screenshot to give you an idea of what the new standards document looks like. The standards at each level are identified with a unique number, letter and number. Then you have the standard. This is followed by a reference section. Some, but not all, of the standards include links to additional information, examples, explanations, and so on. And finally, there is a yes or no checklist. This has been built in for libraries to track their compliance throughout the year. There are a number of new components at each of the 3 levels. I encourage you to review the standards document to get the full detail of the new items. But I'll briefly mention some of the new items, and they include policies such as circulation, collection development, computer use, patron confidentiality, facility, and public safety, job descriptions and performance reviews for library staff, programming for all ages, attending conferences and being a member of library organizations, and outreach in the community through things like social media. So here is a breakdown on what compliance looks like at each of the 3 levels. Libraries that achieve the developing level will be Library Vision Grant eligible. Libraries that achieve the excelling level will be Library Vision Grant eligible and will also be rewarded with a certificate. And libraries that achieve the future focus level will be grant eligible and will also be rewarded with a plaque. Public libraries will, at the very least, need to be in compliance with the developing level by the end of each year in order to be eligible for Library Vision grants for the following year. So for this year, libraries need to be in compliance with everything under developing level by the end of 2019 in order to be eligible to apply for Library Vision grants in 2020. No matter which of the 3 levels your library falls at, it will not impact how much the percentage or how much money you need to match for the Library Vision grants. The grants themselves determine that. I mention this because at one time this was a considered option by the coordinating council and the task force. However, in the end, the certificates and plaque option was the one that was approved. As usual, compliance with the standards and therefore the Library Vision grants will be determined by examining the annual reports submitted to the state library. After the data is verified, library development will cross-reference the annual reports against the standards and determine eligibility. The state library will then notify libraries of their eligibility status. Because of the new elements in these standards, the next annual report in just a couple of months will be a little different. Some questions have been removed and there will be many new ones added. But a lot of these new ones will mostly be yes or no questions. So you've been warned. The new standards are still in their usual spot on the state library's website. So if you had the old document bookmarked, that link will still work. The old standards document has been removed from our website and the new one is in place. So to find the standards, if you don't know, you go to the state library's website, which is library.nd.gov. Click on the Services for Libraries and Education tab at the top, and then scroll down and click on NDLCC Standards for Public Libraries. If you want the direct URL, it is library.nd.gov/publications/NDLCC standards.pdf. Because developing is the core level of the new standards, I want to briefly run through each element. And because this level is also required, is the minimum for library vision grants, that's another reason why I want to run through this. So number one, D1, library building meets ADA. There are some exceptions for ADA, so I encourage you to click on the reference link and explore this a little further if you have any questions on that. Number two, have a identifying sign outside of the building. Number three, have hours. Hours should be posted on the entrance of the library. Number four, have a secure after-hours book return. Number five, have a phone. And I want to clarify that this cannot be a personal cell phone due to things like patron confidentiality and open records laws. And this should also not be a phone at the city office across town. This should be a phone in your building. Number six, have an active email address that is checked on a regular basis. And again, due to open records laws, this cannot be a personal account. But if you're using a work email that's been provided to you by the library or the school, that is fine. Number seven, provide public use internet and Wi-Fi. Number eight, maintain a website that notes location, hours, contact information, and services. It's also important to keep this information up to date. And also a Facebook page does not count as a website. The state library has a free website program, if you're not aware, for public libraries in the state. If you're interested in that, you can contact us or you can go to our website and download the application and then submit that to us. Number nine, website provides access to the state library and statewide databases. If you participate in the free website program that I just mentioned, this is completed for you automatically. Otherwise, you'll want to make sure that these links are added to your website. Number 10, library must be legally established in accordance with the law, which is 40-38-01. And the link in the reference column there will take you to that area of Century Code. Number 11, newly hired library director attends a new director orientation conducted by state library staff. But I want to note that if you're not a new director, let's say you've been at your job for 10 years and you never received an official orientation from the state library, you're fine. You're grandfathered in, so you're okay. You can just say yes to that question. Number 12, file an annual report or PLS with the state library by the deadline. Number 13, develop and distribute an annual report of services to local government in accordance with the law, and that is Century Code 40-38-09. If you're not doing this, I would recommend that you start doing this immediately in order to follow the law. But don't just print off the annual report that you submit to the state library, the PLS, and submit that to your like city or county. Put a little effort into this and do a little advocating for your library in the process. I published a post on the state library's blog about how to approach creating a report like this. You can check that out if you'd like for some guidance, or I can send you the direct link if you'd want to get a hold of me. So number 14, the library's board meets at least quarterly. And number 15, the board meetings must be open to the public with notice given to the general public of the availability of minutes of said meetings in accordance with the law. And then you can click on the reference link there for more information on open meetings. Number 16, New board members receive a formal orientation by the library director, and guidance on how to do this is available at the reference link. Number 17, the library board has adopted circulation policies. Number 18, the library board has adopted collection development policies. Number 19, the board has adopted computer use policies, and this includes an internet access policy. Number 20, the board has adopted a patron confidentiality policy. And I want to point out that these policy standards, so as D17 through D20, all have the same reference link. That's because this link will take you to a page on the State Library's website with policy templates. So if you don't have any of these policies, click on the link and a template is available. So number 21, policies are reviewed and if necessary, updated every 3 years. Number 22, library has a 3 to 5 year strategic plan on file at the State Library. Having a strategic plan has been the biggest obstacle for public libraries in the past when it comes to standards compliance. But really, they're not as intimidating as they may seem. The State Library has a lot of resources available on its website relating to strategic plans. And your friendly library development specialist would be happy to assist you in your library in creating a strategic plan. Number 23, perform regular ongoing weeding of the collection using the CREW method. And if you're unfamiliar with the CREW method, click on the link in the reference column and you'll learn all about it. Number 24, offer interlibrary loan services to patrons. So for example, if one of your patrons requests a book that you don't own, you must be willing to acquire that book from another library through interlibrary loan. That's kind of what this means. And finally, number 25, the last one for the developing level, have a summer reading program for children. Summer reading programs are very different at every library. You go to any library and it's going to be different. But there has to be some sort of reading or learning components, and of course it has to involve children. So we have reached the end of the presentation. Here on the screen is my contact information with my phone number and email. If you have any comments or questions for me on the standards, feel free to give me a call or send me an email. I'd be happy to help you out. Thanks for watching.